Hey guys, this is PrimEval, giving you the wrap-up to our Songhai game. So here we just have the replay maps and graphs, and I know some of you guys like to have a look at these. So I'm sorry I couldn't bring you a video where I actually won the game, but I thought this one was pretty interesting, and this is actually the first game that I've recorded in full where I didn't lose a chunk in the middle because of file corruption or because I forgot to hit record in between my pauses. So anyways, let's just play through the map and watch as we progress. Both Lucky Noob and I spent one turn moving our capital. Spain was really squished in here. They were very close to the Austrians and the Siamese. It looks like these two continents, I actually could have explored the second continent by trireme. There was actually some shallow water connecting the two landmasses. So right here, Lucky Noob was actually leading on score and had taken over Spain's space. But here, Siam is now going to go on a rampage and take out Austria. I'm not really sure what's fueling this. It's likely that Siam got artillery online before Austria did and then proceeded to steamroll him. I wasn't there and I didn't have any information on that, so I'm not sure if that's exactly what happened. And here there's something a little weird happening. We see the game seems to be registering these tiles as Austria's, although I'm pretty sure that at this point Lucky Noob and Austria was completely eliminated. So as you can see, the Siamese had a lot more land by the end, and so at this stage it would be pretty hard to turn the game around. But I think, of course, there were a lot of things that I did that after watching the video again I might say, oh, I could have done something different. But I'll just go over the major things that I think I could have done differently. So first off, instead of making peace with the Greece nation, I could have pushed them while I had the military lead, and instead of going for public schools, I could have pushed for artillery, and then I would have had this whole landmass to myself. But this island here is still a lot smaller than the territory that Siam eventually claimed once they swallowed the Austrians. And I think that our relationship with Spain by the end, or sorry, with Greece, actually was fairly beneficial. They distracted the Siamese army a lot at the end with their attack on the Iroquois. And also, I would have felt pretty bad in attacking Greece after we seemed to have a nice bit of cooperation going with our research agreements and the years of peace we had with our army stalled at the border here. But the main mistake that I made was I stockpiled my great scientists for too long. So by the end I had 5 great scientists, and I really should have used them to push for key techs. So once I found out I had aluminum, I should have pushed for stealth bombers, or I should have accelerated to find out if I had uranium, and once I found that I had uranium, I should have accelerated to nuclear missiles. But instead, I stockpiled them until it was too late, and so while I did get a little more science out of them, which would have been useful if I was going for space race victory, it's much more important to be able to get the key techs and then to exploit an early lead on those key techs. In this case, it would have been uranium and stealth bombers. So I think there was a good stretch during videos 13 and 14 where I was building artillery and infantry that didn't end up being very useful. Had I bulbed my great scientists earlier, I could have been building up subs to control the area while I sent across whatever units I needed, and then also been building bombers, which I could later upgrade to stealth bombers. And of course, building nukes. So with Siam having such a massive lead, my only hope in scaling back his production and his science would be nuclear weapons. So now we're just going to go over some graphs I'll go through all of them, and of course you can skip through this if you're not really interested, but I know that some people would be interested in seeing all these graphs. Gold per connections. Of course, Siam with, by the end, I think they had 12 cities, really accelerated in terms of that once we passed, I guess, the mid-game mark. No gold per turn deals were made, which is normal for a multiplayer game. Building maintenance, Siam, with so many cities, also had the most building maintenance. So I think these graphs are just going to tell the story of how Siam took off in the later half of the game. Culture per turn, Siam had a lot of culture here. I think this is in part because their university also generates culture. That's another mistake I made in this game. I spent too many hammers building cultural buildings. I was hoping to get some benefits out of going through the rationalism tree quickly, but in the end it really wasn't worth it. Another mistake I made was buying a hydro dam in my capital city. That did boost my production a little bit, but the gold that I spent on that could have been used to purchase nuclear missiles at the end, which would have done a lot to slow Siam down. So here's excess happiness, food per turn. We were all pretty close at the start, with Greece having a lot more than the rest of us at the beginning. I'm not sure if it's because they had more rivers on their side of the continent. On my side of the continent, we only had the one river, and then later when we took over the city-states had a river of their own. Or maybe they had allied with some naval city-states. In terms of gold per turn, the story is Siam accelerating during the last half. Golden Ages. Here it looks like I had 2 Golden Ages. Greece had 1, 2, 3, 4 Golden Ages, and Siam pulled off 3 Golden Ages. Happiness. Of course, with extra luxuries and probably some of his puppets building happiness buildings. Again, Siam accelerating at the end. Likewise, a lot of land means a lot of improved tiles and improvement maintenance. Military might, we were all pretty low, and at the end Siam spiked, as did Greece, and Greece actually did a good job in destroying a lot of Siam's units. Some of this drop might also have been, actually the main reason we see this huge drop here is when I dropped a nuke on one of Siam's cities and destroyed 10 of his bombers, or maybe it was stealth bombers at that time. So that was a small victory. It really didn't matter at the end, but it felt good to strike back. Yeah, so number of cities. Siam had, I guess it was 11. Right here he stole one of my cities. In terms of known techs, the 3 of us, Greece, Siam, and myself, were very close throughout most of the game until Siam's science per turn accelerated and he managed to pull way ahead of us. So right here is where I expended all of my great scientists, and that pulled me ahead of Greece, but brought me nowhere near to catching up to Siam. So I think the main mistake that I made was not using my scientists to get nuclear weapons early. Number of policies, number of workers, population, science per turn. Throughout the game, the 3 of us were very close on science per turn until, I guess, the Siamese puppets got their universities or public schools online, or maybe he got research labs in his largest cities. The score pretty much reflects the other metrics that we've seen. So I had a good stockpile of gold for a while, and I think it's here that I bought the hydro dam that, had I not purchased, I would have had a lot more gold for purchasing nuclear weapons. And so I could have gotten a couple extra nuclear strikes off. So, on the topic of great scientists, I didn't build any faith-generating buildings for the whole game, and that was a mistake. So, even though I wasn't planning on founding a religion, I could have used that faith to purchase some extra great scientists at the end, and that could have, had we bulbed earlier, pushed us towards either nuclear missiles or stealth after we had expended the 5 great scientists that we had in the actual game. And so this is the last graph, and I'll end it here. I hope you enjoyed that Let's Play series. The next video I post will likely be one where I actually win, but it's also possible that I'll just post a game that I think is interesting. So I'd be happy to hear any suggestions you might have had, either on the recording process or on the game itself. So I hope this series was enjoyable for you. This is PrimEval signing off.